Foosball was so much fun, guys.
I totally agree. I think it was really fun how we were able to use the LLC for the rapport to do it as a group instead of each going off and developing rapport with other people involved in our lives.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's hilarious though that random guy just showed up.
That was so funny.
Yeah, I think from a non-311 perspective, the vibrant cheers that echoed from our mouths when we were playing sort of emitted a safe, warm environment, which was observed when the guy came.
What was the cheer that we had?
LLC, LLC. Honestly, I'm just really surprised that everyone was able to let their guards down. Well, personally, I didn't feel as embarrassed or shy when I was playing with you guys.
I personally, sometimes when I play competitive games like that, I tend to not feel like I can have fun if I'm not winning. But when we were playing, I didn't really feel that at all. I kind of just went into it and had fun, and I didn't feel any apprehension towards it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, adding on to Lauren's point, I have experience playing foosball with the kids from my work, and what I observed was that there was a skill gap. And I felt that if I were to be as competitive as I was, I would have created sort of a power dynamic and reduced vulnerability amongst the group.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's good on the spot reflection for sure. I think that after this lab, we've definitely created a warm feeling between all of us and an aroma of comfort that feels homey together.
Yeah, like when we come into our lab meetings, it's kind of like when you plug one of those Glad things into the wall
Yes.
and the
Yeah.
scent just ruminates through the room.
With foosball, I felt we were all able to align our core values of family, mutual love, and respect. And I could also see that when we practice our identity work, because initially those practices didn't align with our core values. But when we re-practiced them, we were way more fulfilled in our goals as they aligned with our core values.
I can absolutely relate to that. I felt I wanted to redo my active listening lab practice because originally when I tried to practice active listening, all of my attention was focused on myself and trying to be the best active listener I possibly could, which ironically made me a less effective listener as I had no attention placed on the person who was talking. When I redid my active listening lab, I was sitting on a chairlift and the person I was with brought up something that was a big deal to them, and I realized it was going to be the best moment for me to practice my active listening. So I intentionally shifted all of my focus onto that person. I had a moment where I could see my reflection in his ski goggles, and then I shifted my perspective to his eyes through the ski goggles, and at the end of the day, that connection was extremely fulfilling because it aligned with my values of connection through care and attention.
Maya, that's such a powerful point. And in my experience as well, when I had to throw an impromptu birthday party for my sister and seeing how her eyes lit up and the smile she had from ear to ear, it made me so fulfilled to see just how much she accepted it or how much she appreciated what we did for her.
Yeah, correlating to Lotana's response, I have the opportunity to be blessed to be able to work with my sister at my job. However, when practicing my collaboration LLC, my practice sort of fell flat. Is when I was practicing, sort of went against my core value of family. This was evident when I sort of placed the business relationship above me and my sister's relationship. I love my sister, but during this practice, I found myself being very egotistical. I wanted the praise of all the kids, co-workers, and I didn't see myself as a shark, but looking back on it, it sort of hit me like a truck, pillaging any thoughts I had in my head, leaving me with that empty void. I was, in fact, making a shark move by putting a low priority on my family relationship with my sister and placing that business relationship higher. The solution to this, however, was I had to starve the ego to feed the soul. Over this past weekend, I was able to come together, collaborate with my sister, use our creative ideas to program plan for the kids, and all around, I think this collaboration practice was more successful since I was able to reprioritize the core value of family.
I can definitely relate. I felt way more fulfilled in my role as a coach when my core values of equality and respect aligned with my practice. I re-practiced above the line, by using intellectual stimulation when correcting a skater's technique. I was definitely able to see the gears shift in her, and there was a massive improvement with the skill she was practicing.
I think that's a really powerful point because whenever we debrief, a lot of your situations center around how your parents don't really treat you with that respect and equality that you treated with your skater. So just from your example, seeing how well you're able to transfer these LLC leadership beliefs into her and instilling those values, it's really welcoming.
I definitely felt more empowered in that situation.
Yeah, that's really good.
You guys seem to be really stretching yourselves in these situations, which reminds me of my collaboration practice when I thought that I was stretching myself to be less of a turtle or a teddy bear like I normally am. Because when I was needing to plan a rehearsal with my friend Brielle, and we had conflicting schedules that week, unlike we normally do, I said, I can't have rehearsal Saturday night because I have plans. But then Latana challenged me and said, but you still had to show up late for your Sunday plans in order to make this rehearsal happen. And Brielle didn't have to sacrifice any of her plans to make that happen.
Yeah.
Which made me realize that I wasn't being as much of an owl and being as creative with the solution to find a rehearsal as I thought, because I was still having to accommodate my plans in order to make it work.
Especially in a practice very specific to trying not to be that character.
I was in a similar situation at my club meeting where we had an event planned. Originally that wasn't going to work. So we had a last minute meeting, and I could actively see myself trying to be an owl, and everyone was pitching ideas at our meeting, and we were able to come up with a better plan than our original event. Initially, in our very first meeting though, I was a turtle because I had some concerns with the event we were planning, but I stayed quiet instead. So I can definitely see it's a bit tricky for me to figure out when to be what animal.
Yeah, that's a really great point, and it even brings me back to my LLC practice where I was just engulfed by the laughter and enjoyment which radiated from inside the trampoline park, and just contrasting that from the deafening silence of being in the lobby because 15 people couldn't properly plan out when to show up on time for a scheduled event. And you know some of them, you don't know the rest as well, and now you have to choose whether to be assertive, avoidant, or dismissive about a situation, which was really challenging for me.
Yeah, it's definitely a difficult thing to choose what animal to be in which situation. I think we're at a huge advantage now that we've built the awareness of the animals and what they can bring to the table. Someone who would not be in 311 would not have the awareness that we have as a group, and they may be choosing a more tactile, or we may be choosing a more tactile approach, and they would be choosing a more emotional or reactive approach.
I definitely see that because someone who's not in 311 would be more emotional at the situation considering who they're with, versus us, now that we have taken 311, we're more analytical towards the situation and can see when to be what animal.
Exactly.
Yeah, we can kind of use it as a strategy.
That we want to add before we close is that we all had different experiences with the relationship between pressure and receptiveness. I found that as social pressure suffocates and tenses us up, we arm ourselves socially through defensiveness.
And I found that in my practice, when those pressure of expectations lifted, it was a lot more receptive from the action that I took to my sister.
Funny enough, I found that when pressure increased, I had an increase in receptiveness. When I was practicing active listening, my mom's eyes lit up, and it kind of increased the pressure because my attention was entirely on her, but I felt that she was way more receptive to the conversation afterward.